Funding anything today can be challenging, but funding charitable and nonprofit causes, well, that's something else entirely. People generally applaud the work of charities, but seldom appreciate how a charitable organization pays its bills. Bills as simple as keeping the lights on, or the costs associated with organizing a local event. The reality is that charities and nonprofits are some of today's most resourceful and innovative organizations in terms of creating meaningful ways for people, companies, and governments to invest in their work. This Melanie Minute explains some of the newer options for nonprofit funding and talks about the importance for every nonprofit organization to always make that connection between funding and delivering value.
Welcome to another Melanie Minute. I always find it interesting when people say, wow, how have we run a charity for so long? You must have lots of funding. Are you funded by the government? Are you funded by a corporate sponsor? I kind of laugh to myself and say, wow, you have no idea. And the reality is, many people have no idea what goes into running a not for profit or charity. It is definitely a lot of work when it comes to funding. So, Connect for Life is not funded by any one source. In fact, we have to count on many different funding sources. And so today's Melanie Minute, I'm going to just share the experience and what I've discovered about acquiring funding to help move a mission forward. So, of course, there's different types of funding. We have the government grant applications that you can apply for as a charity to get funding to help run operational costs, certain programs, things like that. There's also corporate sponsorship where you can create a partnership with a business that is looking to do some social responsibility, where it is a give and take relationship. They give you funding to do a program or an event or for your cause, and you give them promotions, whether that's at an event, on social media, or in the media, really sharing and giving them recognition for their support. Then, of course, there's donations. Now, donations come in different formats. You can give a one-time donation, and usually you'll see this happen at a specific event, an online campaign, and people may donate anything from $10 to $1,000, depending on what the event is. And then there are donor programs. Now, donor programs, again, come in different shapes. So you can have long-term donors that donate X amount of dollars every year, or they've decided that you're the cause that they want to give to. And then there's monthly giving programs. Now, monthly giving programs are something that Connect for Life is just actually starting to develop. But I've seen this happen all the time. Think about it. Do you get mailings from your local hospital where you receive services that they're calling on you to help donate so much money per month? Just fill in the card and mail it back. They give you a envelope that already has the shipping or postage covered, or they encourage you to go to a website to make a contribution. Perhaps you've seen some advertisements on TV to give to a cause such as giving money to children across the world, or possibly for animals, for whatever the cause is, and they pull at your heartstrings. They make you want to give. And you have an opportunity to call the operator or go on the website and select your monthly giving campaign amount. And again, they range anywhere from $10 a month all the way up to $100 a month. And this is something that a lot of people will do because it's their way of giving. So they find a charity or cause that they're passionate about and give something monthly. But then there's also other formats of funding. And I'd like to just share a few more. I know in workplaces, you can do payroll deductions and give to a charity of your choice. And that's also something that's very good. And it's done through third party fundraisers like Benevity or Canada Helps, things like that. There are service clubs that give donations to charities that help out in the local communities. And again, there are those building of relationships with the local community agencies and the service clubs. And that's another format. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know about is about there's philanthropy. So there's people out there that have money that they've set aside in a trust or a fund, a foundation, where they'll give to causes that they're passionate about or that they have an alliance with. So maybe perhaps there are different organizations out there and some foundations that have money set aside for certain causes. And in my investigation into different ways, I came across the community foundations. And this is a really interesting cause that I don't think a lot of people know about. And I'm just going to share a little bit of information, but I encourage you to check it out on your local community. So there's an organization called Community Foundations of Canada, and every community has their own little foundation. And this is where people in that community can give the money to the foundation to manage. And the money gets invested into a long-term investment called an endowment. And every year it makes interest. And that interest is then given to community organizations or charities or causes that is allocated for certain funds. They may have grant application cycles, or they may have a donor that has committed the money for a specific purpose. So, for example, when they put their money to the community foundation and say, I'd like this to go towards a children's cause or sports cause or digital literacy or financial literacy or whatever it is. So these funds are allocated to specific reasons. So but it is managed by this community foundation. This is one place where people feel comfortable giving money because they know the money is going to be used properly. Because what I've discovered over many conversations with potential funders or grantors is that people need to build trust. You need to have a relationship with funders in order for them to feel comfortable about giving away their hard earned money. And we've heard in the past that there's been some charities that perhaps have not used the funds wisely, and it gets in the news, and people start thinking, oh, it's being used for administration costs, it's not being used for the programs. So some people that are donating money are a little hesitant to give to charities directly, unless it's a big cause such as cancer or perhaps a well known charity organization that they have built that trust. But as Connect for Life is a small grassroots organization trying to do big things, we are really trying to explore other opportunities. And one of the things that we have been really looking into is third party fundraising. And this is something I didn't know a lot about. So this is where you can use third-party platforms such as Benevity Canada Helps to help create campaigns or even happens on Facebook. And you can do those things to share stories or initiatives or causes that you're doing, and people can get involved. Third-party fundraising also comes in different forms. So if you have a family member or somebody that is passionate about what you're doing or a cause, they can actually do something called peer-to-peer fundraising. And so they can host a campaign themselves, or they can do a fundraiser to say, I'm going to raise funds for Connect for Life or whatever the organization might be. And I've seen people put together gala events, big events that are run completely separate from the organization, but all the proceeds raised goes towards that cause. So this is something that Connect for Life is now exploring. But there's also one thing I've learned about funding is about building relationships, about explaining the cause. What are you raising funds for? Because that's what people want to know. Where is their money going towards? So currently, our focus is opening skills development training hubs and making sure that we have accessible, inclusive programs where individuals can go get the education and training, but also have a place to connect and to offer workshop. We can offer workshops for employers, community partners, and different organizations to learn about accessibility, disability inclusion, and how we can all work together towards creating a more inclusive and accessible community that we live in. So all of these things that I've shared here today are just by learning and doing some research online, attending webinars and taking courses. But the one thing I found out, and this has not been an easy lesson I want to share, is how to convey our needs for funding to the general public. We have to share what we're passionate about in a way that the public understands, because it might not be their passion and might not be their purpose. But where we're passionate about what we want to see an inclusive and accessible world for everybody to be able to thrive and live their best life, that may not reach out to people. You notice there's a lot of beautiful charities out there looking for the same funding. So, what sets us apart? And that has to be our success stories. So, really conveying the passion that what we do and the impact it's making, sharing the impact that we've made on paper or through campaigns. And that's not always easy. So I encourage you all to do a little bit of research. Find out what goes into funding a not for profit or a charity or a cause that you're passionate about. How did they get their funding? Is it government funding? Is it through grant application, corporate sponsorship, donor programs, or third party fundraising? And I encourage you, after you've done your research, reach out to those organizations and offer your help. Maybe it's just by sharing your knowledge. Maybe it's by making a donation or a contribution. Or maybe it's just by saying, have you ever thought of trying this out? Or have you heard of this funder? Because collaboratively, if we work towards a common goal in our local communities for a cause that we're passionate about, we can do big things. Until next time.
You have been listening to Connect for Life, the podcast. Connect for Life is a Canadian-based registered charity committed to eliminating barriers for people with disabilities. Visit connectforlife.ca and join us in helping people with disabilities become the champions of their growth stories.